share some thoughts. And on psychosis, melanin, and things related to that kind of thing. Let me first make some definitions and give some illustrations, and I'm going to do the visual piece last for Jamal. That will kind of reinforce it. How do we define psychosis? Better yet, how do we define the mind? A model of the mind. The model of the mind that is given by European, I use the word European Africans, is a juvenile model of the mind. In other words, it has a model of the mind that embraces concepts that only speak to a certain level of development. A level of development that is no more than a juvenile level. Africans define, I want to give you African references that are pre-white supremacy times. I don't want to even waste time with something less than that. The African model of mind, let's take Sigmund Freud, for example. Sigmund Freud, who is a deaf psychiatrist, one who studies the unconscious, and his student Carl Gustav Jung, who also studies the unconscious. Both Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung were students of African psychiatry, African psychology. In the book, The Biology of the Mind, Freud said, I have studied more history than I have studied psychology. And when you look on his desk in 1936, a picture to show his desk, and his desk is loaded with African Kemetic statues. There's Jehudi, pictured as the baboon. There is Osiris or Osir. There's Isis. All of that on his desktop. Now, if Jamal could project himself back in time, 1936 in Vienna, and was to lay on Sigmund Freud's couch to be analyzed, he would do so with a print of Abu Simbel and Ramses II right over the couch. That's how much he was into it. He studied that. Carl Gustav Jung did the same. Carl Gustav Jung, a so-called Jungian analyst who studied a thing called the collective unconscious, or the ancestral mind. His word was the collective unconscious. Sigmund Freud, in his book Moses and Monotheism, defined that as the ancestral intelligence, the archaic mind. Well, let's don't get caught up in that. And we really don't want to get caught up in biological psychiatry, talking about neuropsychopharmacology and neuropsychoendocrinology, because they're only going to go so far. They will talk about serotonin, epinephrine, norepinephrine, GABA. They would dopamine. They'll tell you all of the antipsychotic meds that are used are based on blocking dopamine, but they won't tell you dopamine is a polite name for melanin. Okay? If they give you these various things like Prozac, Wellbutrin, Zoloft, even these newer ones, Lexapro, so-called serotonin blockers, they won't tell you that is also a flip word for melatonin. Serotonin daytime, melatonin nighttime. They play those kinds of games. But let's go to an African model of the mind, and let's look at those African concepts. The African model of the mind, we would go back to the myth-fight cosmology that's talked about George James' book, Solar Legacy, in chapter 6. The myth-fight cosmology was rewritten by Pharaoh Shabaka in the 25th dynasty, roughly 700 BC, 2,800 years ago. And it was said that this was a book that he rewrote, And there was already worms. The papyrus was so old it had been eaten up by worms. And the grammatical structure was of a pre-dynastic form, meaning that this was the view that the Ethiopians had, who later founded Egypt. Before the first dynasty, not 4,000 years ago, roll your clock back 1 million years. Okay? At least 300,000 before the Sibelian periods 1, 2, and 3. And it said that in the beginning there was the primeval waters of none, or space itself. And out of those primeval waters there arose a hill. And that hill was called the God, the great God of all, Ptah. And on top of that great hill, there then rested the other God called the Atom. And then Ptah conceived in his heart all that there was, and that Adam would do all that the heart commanded it to do. So feelings shape thought. And as a result, it structured things, but yet there was left in the primeval waters of none 4 pairs of gods that Western science knows nothing about. That was George James' words. And George James said that Western science only discovered the bit had to do with the atom, and that was in the 1930s. And what did he do with it? What did he and she do with it? But made an atom bomb. Their skill or left 4 other basic heavy-duty principles of science in the unseen waters of none. And how does melanin fit into that picture? How does psychosis fit into that picture? Well, brothers and sisters, all over the place. In the year 1988, European Africans began to dissect and to look on a microscopic level at meteorites, carbon-containing meteorites, and guess what they found they were made from? In their core, there's a thing called nano, N-A-N-O, diamonds. What is a nano diamond? A nano diamond is black stuff from the black cosmic seeds that exist in space itself. That are the seeds from which planets and suns are formed. So cosmic space is black melanin. The so-called proto-nebular stars, or those large gaseous stars of gas clouds from which stars are formed and protoplanets are formed from black seeds that are nano. A nano diamond is 10 to the minus 6, smaller than a billionth of an inch. But yet these are micro diamonds. These are crystalline carbon atoms that exist in a straight carbon structure. And that takes on a diamond shape. That's not inorganic matter. That is a doorway to life itself. On a larger level, I'll get right to the point. Let's just jump right onto it. Each one of us, we have a physical body. We have a mental body, partially made into our brain. We have a soul body, our inner vision, our third eye, and we have a spirit body. That soul body, my brothers and sisters, I would submit to you, is your nano diamond black hole that exists right above your third, right above your pineal gland,